Nera nodded, her movements graceful despite her obvious exhaustion. The Linturi do not often allow their own to leave, let alone seek refuge elsewhere. She leaned forward, her four-fingered hands clasped tightly together. Please, Commander Park, I possess knowledge that would benefit your species immensely. Let me stay here, and I'll give you what no human woman can. The statement hung in the air between them. Through the one-way glass, Director Hannah Kim watched with narrow eyes, her arms crossed over her chest. That's quite a bold claim, Park said, maintaining his professional demeanor despite his curiosity. Bold, but true, Nara replied. The door slid open, and Director Kim entered. Unlike Park's measured approach, Kim's distrust was clear in her rigid posture and clipped words. The Galactic Council sent us a warning about Linturi refugees 3 months ago, she said, not bothering with introductions. Apparently, several of your kind have been using asylum requests as cover for intelligence gathering. Nara's glow dimmed slightly. There are those among my people who serve such purposes, yes. I am not one of them. All aliens say that, Kim replied coldly. Park shot her a warning look before turning back to Nara. Perhaps you could demonstrate some of this knowledge you claim to have. Nara's glow brightened. Of course. Under guard, they moved to a small conference room. Kim handed Nara a tablet containing non-classified information. Technical specifications for the station's public areas. You have 30 seconds, Kim said. Nara glanced at the screen, her eyes moving rapidly. Then she handed the device back. Section 12B has 37 maintenance access points, 12 oxygen recyclers, and 8 emergency evacuation routes, she began, then proceeded to detail the entire layout without a single error. Park was impressed, but tried not to show it. Memory tricks are useful, but hardly. Your station's quantum communication array uses an oscillation pattern based on the Hirota-Nakamura model, Nara interrupted. It's inefficient. If you adjusted the subspace resonance by 0.3 microns and implemented a cascading phase shift, you could increase transmission speed by 800%. A stunned silence followed. How did you know about our quantum array? Kim demanded. That's classified. I didn't, Nara said simply. I observed the power distribution patterns in your public data and extrapolated the most likely configuration. Kim looked suspicious, but Park saw the opportunity. Dr. Lee is working on that exact problem. Perhaps we should let them meet. 3 hours later, in the station's science lab, Dr. Ta Lee was practically bouncing with excitement as Nara corrected his equations with casual ease. This would have taken us years to discover, he exclaimed, looking at Park and Kim. Maybe decades. Kim remained unmoved. One technological insight doesn't justify political asylum. Nara's glow pulsed gently. I understand your caution. Would you like me to help with your propulsion efficiency issues as well? Or perhaps explain why your deep space probes keep failing past the Kuiper Belt? Kim's eyes widened slightly, and Park knew Nara had struck another classified topic. Later, as they escorted Nara back to her temporary quarters, Park hung back. That was impressive today, he admitted. But I'm curious, why Earth? The Centauri colonies would welcome your knowledge too. Nara's violet eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. Humans are different. You question, you adapt, you grow. And you haven't yet decided what kind of galactic power you will become. Her voice softened. What I've shown you is merely the beginning, Commander. As the door closed between them, Park couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Nara sat in the station's cafeteria, watching Commander Park with curious eyes. The human raised a steaming cup to his lips and took a long sip, closing his eyes briefly in apparent satisfaction. Your species consumes caffeine willingly, she asked, her head tilting slightly. The concept seemed strange to her. Her iridescent skin rippled with a pattern that Park had come to recognize as confusion. Park smiled, setting the cup down. On Earth, it's practically a necessity for most people. Why do you ask? On my world, Such stimulants are reserved for medical emergencies. Nara leaned forward to examine the dark liquid. Our bodies react much more strongly to it. A cup of your coffee would leave a Linteri unable to sleep for 3 full cycles. Park laughed. One of many differences between us, I suppose. Commander Jun Park stood in the dimly lit interrogation room aboard Orbital Station Alpha, his eyes fixed on the alien woman seated across from him. Nara was unlike any being he had ever encountered. Her skin had a soft blue glow that shifted with her movements, and her eyes, large violet orbs, seemed to take in everything at once. "You understand why we must be careful," Park said, keeping his voice even. "We've had few encounters with your species." These cultural exchanges had become part of their daily routine. After Director Kim had reluctantly granted Nara temporary residency while her asylum case was reviewed, Park had been assigned as her guide and handler. "Tell me more about your home," Park said, genuinely curious. During their weeks together, he had developed a real interest in Lintari culture beyond his professional duties. Nara's glow dimmed slightly. "My world appears beautiful to outsiders. Crystal cities, advanced technology, perfect order." She paused. "But order comes at a cost. We live by rigid hierarchy. Every Lintari assigned a function from birth." "And what was yours?" Park asked gently. "I was a knowledge vessel, created to absorb and process information." Her 4-fingered hand traced patterns on the table. "But I absorbed too much, understood too deeply. I began to question our ways. And that was dangerous. Very." Nara's voice dropped to a whisper. "Vessels are not meant to think independently. When they discovered I was accessing restricted archives, they scheduled me for recalibration." Park had learned enough to know what that meant. Memory wiping, personality reconstruction. "So you fled." Nara nodded, with only what knowledge I could carry in my mind. Day by day, Nara shared more pieces of her world while absorbing human culture with astonishing speed. She mastered 7 Earth languages in 2 weeks and developed a particular fondness for classical music, saying it reminded her of mathematical patterns. Meanwhile, Dr. Tao Li had become Nara's most vocal advocate. The quantum physicist spent hours with her daily, emerging from each session more excited than before. Her understanding of subspace particles could revolutionize our propulsion systems, Li had exclaimed during the weekly progress meeting. She solved the Kojima instability problem in minutes, something we've struggled with for decades. Director Kim remained skeptical. "And what does she want in return for these gifts?" "Only asylum," Park replied, though sometimes he wondered if it could be that simple. Over time, Park noticed changes in Nara. After sessions with the scientists, she grew quieter, more withdrawn. Her natural glow would dim, and she would retreat to her quarters for hours. One night, unable to shake his concern, Park checked the station's communication logs. What he found troubled him: encrypted transmissions leaving the station during Nara's quiet periods. He went to her quarters immediately. When she opened the door, her surprise at seeing him quickly shifted to understanding as she saw his expression. "Who are you contacting, Nara?" he demanded, more hurt than angry. Nara stepped back, allowing him to enter the small room she had been assigned. The walls were covered with intricate drawings, star charts, mathematical equations, and what appeared to be alien faces. "Others like me," she said finally, her voice soft. "Refugees, scattered across the stars." Park looked at the faces on the wall. "More vessels." Nara nodded. "We help each other stay hidden. Share information about safe places." Her large eyes met his. "I didn't tell you because I feared you would see it as a security risk." "It is a security risk," Park said, but his tone had softened. "But I understand why you did it." He looked at the star chart where Nara had marked several locations. "How many of you are there?" "Not enough," she replied. "And the Lintari hunt us relentlessly. Knowledge is power, Commander, and we carry much of it." Commander Park hurried through the station corridors, his heart racing. The emergency meeting call had come without explanation, but the tension in Director Kim's voice told him something serious had happened. When he entered the conference room, the atmosphere was ice cold. Director Kim stood at the head of the table, her face set in grim lines. Dr. Lee sat slumped in his chair, looking devastated. "What's happened?" Park asked, taking his seat. Director Kim activated the room's display screen, showing images of the quantum lab. "The prototype is missing," she announced, "and all evidence points to your alien friend." Park stared at the screen in disbelief. The quantum communication enhancer, the device they had been developing based on Nara's insights, was nowhere to be seen in its usual secure cabinet. "Nara wouldn't," Park began. "Your personal feelings aren't relevant, Commander," Kim cut him off sharply. "Security footage shows her in the lab after hours." The screen shifted to grainy footage of Nara entering the lab at 200 hours, working at the main console, then leaving with something clutched in her hands. "There must be an explanation," Park insisted, though doubt had begun to creep in. "Why would she be there in the middle of the night?" Dr. Lee spoke up, his voice heavy. "The enhancer contained revolutionary technology. If it reached the wrong hands..." He didn't need to finish. Everyone understood the implications. "Where is Nara now?" Park asked. "In containment," Kim replied. "We're waiting for you to question her. You've developed a rapport." The walk to the containment area felt endless. Park's mind raced through possibilities. Had he been wrong about her? Was this why she'd grown distant, preparing for theft? Or was she possibly contacting her fellow refugees to coordinate something bigger? When he entered the room, Nara sat perfectly still. Her natural glow had dimmed to almost nothing, making her skin look gray and lifeless. "They told you," she said simply, not a question. Park sat across from her. "The prototype is missing. Security footage shows you in the lab last night." "I was there," she admitted. Park's heart sank. "Why, Nara?" Her eyes flashed with sudden intensity, her glow briefly brightening with emotion. "To check my calculations. Dr. Lee said the phase calibrations weren't stabilizing. I couldn't sleep thinking about it." "And the prototype?" Park pressed. When confronted, Nara's denial was fierce. "I shared everything freely. Why would I steal what I've already given?" She leaned forward. "Think, Commander. The knowledge to build that device came from me. If I wanted to betray you, I would have simply withheld the information." Her logic made sense, but the evidence seemed clear. "The security footage shows me leaving with my data tablet," she finished. "Check the entry log. I signed it out properly." Park promised to investigate further, though he left the meeting unsure what to believe. For 3 days, Nara remained in containment while the investigation continued. The station buzzed with rumors about the dangerous alien spy. Park found himself defending her to colleagues who had welcomed her just days before. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. A routine security scan flagged an unauthorized transmission from the personal quarters of researcher Dadyun. When security teams entered, they found him attempting to transport the prototype off station. Under questioning, Yoon confessed to stealing the device and selling information to Proxima Industries, Earth's largest private space corporation. "We needed a scapegoat," he admitted. "The alien was perfect. We doctored the footage to make it look like she took something larger than her tablet." When Park brought the news to Nara's containment room, he expected relief, maybe even joy. Instead, he found her sitting motionless, her expression distant. "You're cleared of all charges," he told her. "You can return to your quarters immediately." Nara stood slowly. "Thank you for uncovering the truth, Commander." But as they walked through the corridor, Park sensed something had fundamentally changed. Passing crew members still eyed Nara with suspicion despite the official announcement of her innocence. "Your people were so quick to suspect me," she said quietly as they reached her quarters. "Perhaps I was wrong about Earth." Park had no answer. The damage was done, and he wondered if trust, once broken, could ever truly be repaired. The alarm blared throughout the station, red warning lights flashing in every corridor. Commander Park sprinted to the command center, arriving breathless to find Director Kim staring at the main view screen with tight lips. "What is it?" Park asked, joining her at the console. "We have visitors," Kim replied, nodding toward the screen. The ship that had appeared without warning near Earth's orbital station was unlike anything Park had seen before. It resembled a massive arrowhead, its surface gleaming like polished obsidian. No visible engines or weapon systems could be seen, yet its presence radiated power. "They're hailing us," the communications officer reported. Director Kim straightened her uniform. "Put them through." The view screen shifted to show the interior of the alien vessel. Standing center frame was a tall, slender figure with the same iridescent skin as Nora, though his glowed with intense white light rather than her soft blue. His features were sharper, more angular. "I am High Commander Moran of the Linturi Collective," he announced, his voice carrying a musical quality despite its coldness. "We have tracked an unauthorized signal to your station." Park and Kim exchanged glances. The transmissions Nora had been sending to other refugees. They must have been detected. "We are a peaceful research station," Kim replied carefully. "What sort of signal concerns you?" Moran's expression didn't change. "The signal originated from one of our assets, a knowledge bearer designated Nara. We demand her immediate return." Return. Park couldn't stop himself from speaking. She requested asylum here. Moran's glow intensified. "The knowledge bearer designated Nara is property of the Linturi Collective. Her extraction was unauthorized." "Property?" Park echoed, disgusted by the term. "Commander Park," Kim warned under her breath. Moran continued as if Park hadn't spoken. "We will dock with your station in 6 hours to reclaim our property. Prepare the knowledge bearer for transfer." The transmission ended abruptly. The command center erupted in urgent discussion. Park slipped away and hurried to Nara's quarters. He found her sitting perfectly still, as if she had been expecting this moment. "You heard," she said simply. "Why didn't you tell me they would come for you?" Park asked. Nara stood and moved to the window, looking out at the stars. "I hoped they wouldn't find me. The other vessels have been helping me mask my presence." "What did he mean, calling you property?" Park asked, though he feared he already knew. In private, Nara revealed the truth. "I am what they call a vessel, created to store and process information. My kind are bred, not born." Her voice was steady but quiet. "We are designed through genetic manipulation to have perfect recall and enhanced cognitive processing. Each vessel specializes in different knowledge areas." "Your people, not property," Park insisted. Nara's smile was sad. "Not in the eyes of the collective. I am a living database, Commander. My value is in what I contain, not who I am." Within the hour, Earth's Emergency Council convened via holographic link. Representatives from major governments appeared as projections in the station's conference room. The situation was presented, with scientists and military leaders offering conflicting recommendations. "Their technology far exceeds our own," Admiral Kang warned. "Scans indicate weapon systems we cannot even identify. We must avoid conflict." "If we give her up," Park argued before the council, "we betray everything humanity claims to stand for. Our principles of sentient rights would mean nothing." The council seemed unmoved by moral arguments, focusing instead on strategic concerns. Dr. Lee, who had been quiet until now, stood up. "Beyond ethics, there are practical considerations. Nara's knowledge has already revolutionized our quantum communication research. Her understanding of subspace mechanics could advance us by centuries. Surrendering her means losing access to knowledge that could transform humanity's future." The debate continued in circles until Director Kim cut through the noise. "There's a third option," she said. "We don't surrender Nara, but we don't fight either. We negotiate." She looked at Park. "And we need to know exactly what valuable knowledge Nara possesses that might give us leverage." As the meeting adjourned, Park found Nara waiting outside the conference room. "Did they decide to hand me over?" she asked, her voice calm despite the fear visible in her eyes. "Not yet," Park said, taking her arm gently. "But we need to talk about what you know that the Lintari wants so badly." 6 hours passed too quickly. The Lintari ship now loomed alongside the station, its docking mechanisms extending toward the human airlock. Commander Park stood with Director Kim and Premier Sun, Earth's highest diplomatic authority, who had arrived via emergency shuttle just an hour earlier. They formed a small reception line in the docking bay, with armed security personnel positioned discreetly behind them. Nara stood slightly apart, her blue glow pulsing with nervous energy. "Are you sure about this?" Park whispered to Premier Sun. The older woman nodded once, her face composed. "Some principles cannot be compromised, Commander, not even for peace." The airlock hissed open. High Commander Moran entered first, followed by 4 Lintari guards whose skin glowed with aggressive red patterns. Unlike Nara's simple clothing, they wore elaborate fitted garments that seemed to enhance their natural luminescence. "Premier Sun," Moran acknowledged with a slight bow. "I am surprised the humans send their highest leader for a simple retrieval matter." "Nothing about this matter is simple, High Commander," Premier Sun replied. She stood straight despite being a full head shorter than the alien. "We have considered your request carefully." Moran's eyes flicked to Nara, who lowered her gaze. "The vessel is malfunctioning. It requires recalibration. We appreciate your temporary caretaking, but it must be returned." Earth's response surprised everyone, including Nara. Premier Sun stepped forward, her voice firm and clear. "The being known as Nara has requested asylum under Earth's protection," she announced to the Lintari delegation. "We recognize her as a sentient individual with inherent rights. Those rights include the freedom to choose her own path." The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Moran's glow intensified to an almost painful brightness. "This is not a negotiable matter," he said, his musical voice now harsh. "The vessel contains proprietary knowledge vital to Lintari security. Its extraction was theft." "She," corrected Park. Nodded. Moran ignored him. "Premier Sun, perhaps you do not understand the technological gap between our civilizations. The vessel must be returned, or there will be consequences." Nara stepped forward suddenly. "I can offer a solution." All eyes turned to her. For the first time since Park had known her, Nara seemed truly confident, almost regal in her bearing. "High Commander, I propose a demonstration," she said. Premier Sun nodded her approval, and Director Kim ordered a portable quantum computer terminal brought to the docking bay. "What is this?" Moran demanded. "A compromise," Nara replied simply. When the terminal arrived, Nara placed her 4-fingered hands on its surface. Her eyes closed, and her skin began to pulse with complex patterns of light. The computer's display flashed with equations and diagrams appearing and disappearing faster than human eyes could follow. Dr. Lee, monitoring from a tablet, gasped. "She's redesigning our entire defensive shield system and improving it tenfold." After 3 minutes, Nara removed her hands. The terminal continued processing her input. "This is what I offer freely," she declared, looking directly at Moran. "Not as property, but as an ally. I will share selected knowledge with both humanity and the Lintari Collective, provided I remain free and other vessels are granted the same rights." Moran's glow dimmed slightly. "Impossible. The Collective cannot function without treating us as tools." Nara interrupted. "The knowledge we contain can be shared without our enslavement. What I just gave Earth's defense systems would take your engineers years to develop independently." The next 2 hours involved intense negotiation. Premier Sun offered Earth's advanced medical research in exchange for recognition of vessel rights. Dr. Lee demonstrated how Nara's freely given innovations could benefit both civilizations without compromising either security. The standoff ended with an unprecedented agreement. Earth would share certain technologies developed with Nara's help, while the Lintari would acknowledge the rights of all vessels, beginning with a pilot program of 50 individuals. As the Lintari ship prepared to depart, Park found Nara alone in the observation deck, watching the stars. "Will they honor the agreement?" he asked. The collective values efficiency above all. They've realized free vessels provide better results than captive ones, Nera replied. She turned to face him, her glow gentle and warm. Thank you, she said simply, for seeing me as more than what I can provide. Park smiled. That's the most human thing we could do. Nera's expression softened. Perhaps it's simply the most decent thing any sentient being can do. See others as they truly are. She gazed back at the stars. I think I will like being Earth's first Linteri citizen.